We're following a story about the Supreme Court ruling unanimously today that the NCAA has illegally restricted benefits that could be used as compensation for student athletes. Sports agent and DLE agency founder Doug Eldridge joins us now. Doug, it's always great to see you. This is a really interesting story. The National Collegiate Athletic Association, their argument, right, was basically that amateur status of players would be impossible to maintain, and if all of a sudden they were receiving money for things before they were on they graduated and got on this larger stage. And the Supreme Court is saying no, they're allowed to get that compensation. So how does that change the playing field?
Well, first of all, it's unique that this decision was a 9-0 unanimous decision, given the division not only in the country but in the court right now. Judge Gorsuch wrote the opinion for the unanimous decision, indicating which upheld NCAA v. Alston, which said it was illegal or improper. It was a violation of antitrust laws for the NCAA to place an artificial limit on the education-connected benefits this student athlete can receive. Obviously, education connected is the caveat there. But essentially what that allowed or opened up, Jackie, is that no schools can place this artificial ceiling on how much value the student athletes, which is a marketing term created by the NCAA, the student athletes can receive in terms of education-connected benefits. The interesting thing of this, though, and this really goes to your question, was what Judge Kavanaugh wrote as well. He took certainly a more fervent view in this regard, saying that the NCAA is not above the law, and he really tipped his cap that this could lay the pathway for an absolute Wild West of NIL, name, image, and likeness, regulation coming down the pike, which is on the table just up the street from me here on Capitol Hill. There was a July 1 deadline for Congress to have a mandate passed, but we're not there yet.
It's interesting because as I'm hearing you explain this, it's almost like a free market conversation, right? The NCAA is saying we want to regulate this, right? We want to control it in some way. And in the justices' opinions, they're basically saying, no, we're going to let free market dynamics rule.
100%. I'm an agent, a publicist, and an analyst, but I'm also a capitalist, and you hit the nail on the head. This is absolutely a free market dynamic. You're placing artificial barriers and ceilings on growth potential and arbitrarily limiting who can benefit under what circumstances. Now, this goes beyond basic regulation of a market. This is unfair and undue impingement of that regulation. You're not allowing students, I'm not saying drawing a salary to be a football player. I'm saying not being allowed to cash in on your name, your image, and your likeness being used up the street.
Yeah, if you're the up-and-coming Michael Jordan, you know, you should be able to get those education-related expenses. But I guess that is the fine line, and you bring that up as well, that, you know, you got to walk that line and stay within the confines of it, right?
Right. Well, and remember, in 115 years, that's how long the NCAA has been around, they've become a multi-billion-dollar entity. March Madness alone does $1 billion in revenue for the NCAA. The bowl games add on top of that a multiple. So this is not Little Sisters of the Poor trying to maintain their charitable status and saying we need every penny we can keep. The disparity in income and value being exchanged between the two propositions is staggering, and I think that's why Judge Kavanaugh took such a fervent role in his additional opinion added to Gorsuch's majority opinion, and why, by large part, we looked at a 9-0 decision. I don't think anybody necessarily predicted that, but it certainly speaks to the fact that everybody, if we were to create a Robin Hood dynamic, they're viewing the NCAA as the sheriff of Nottingham and these poor athletes as Robin Hood and the pack of thieves in terms of what they're owed. There's been a long-standing imbalance in this economic teeter-totter, and I think we're going to see a righting of the ship in the very, very near future. The writing's on the wall.
Yeah, and there are checks and balances within the court. You're right to bring that up. 9-0 says a lot. Doug, always great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.